We all know mobile friendliness is super important to show up higher on search engines, but how do you check if your website is mobile friendly? You want to make sure your website is mobile friendly because back in 2016, Google came out with an algorithm update called Mobilegeddon, and it was big and scary. And what it was about is prioritizing mobile friendly websites first. In the years just before 2016, maybe around 2013, 14, 15, is when the traffic started to shift from desktop and laptops over to mobile phones and tablets. Google started to say, let's prioritize mobile friendly versions of websites first, since that's where most of the traffic is. There's three great tools that you can use. Two of them you're probably familiar with, but I think you're going to be surprised with the third one. The first tool is GTmetrix.com. Now, this one is a great one because it'll tell you a variety of core web vitals. Now, core web vitals is one of Google's metrics that it uses on ranking a website, especially on the mobile side. And so what you want to look at is two things on this report. I look at two things. A lot of times when you run this report, there's going to be a big scary red F over here, or a C or a D. I actually don't look at that. The first thing I look at is this, largest contentful paint. Now what that is it's how long does it take for your website above the fold to load? How long does it take for me to see this part before I scroll? Then the second thing I look at is this guy right here, fully loaded time. That is how long does it take for everything else to load? But what that means is if we take a look at 1 second for above the fold, that means it takes 0.2 seconds for everything else to load below. Okay, so what is a good speed? What I look for is 3 seconds or less on this. Now, often what I see is an average time frame of 5 to 8 seconds. So if you can get it down below 3 seconds, then you're in good shape. Now, the reason why that matters is because Google wants to serve a website that makes them look good. And so a good user experience and a fast loading website makes Google look good for recommending it. Think about it. You probably don't like slow loading websites either. The faster your website loads, the more it positions you as an authority over your competition. Like what you're watching so far, do me a favor and like and subscribe. I don't know which content brings you value unless you tell me. So liking and subscribing will help me know to make more of these videos, solve more of your problems, answer more questions, and help take you to the next level. Do that now. Like, subscribe. Back to the video. So the first one is GTmetrix.com. Now the second one is Google PageSpeed Insights. Now you can run a test on here, and what it's going to do, this one's a little bit more technical. It's going to tell you things like largest contentful paint. Now that's what we talked about here. What do we see before we scroll? And there's all sort of other metrics, like how long does it take for the first action item to come up, your first button, your first image? Do things move as it loads? You've all gone to a website and you kind of see if it loads slow that it kind of comes in little tiles and little rows. Does that happen as the page load unfolds? PageSpeed Insights is a little vague. A lot of times it doesn't tell you the very specific things to fix. So that's why I like GTmetrix. If you go over here to waterfall, then what it'll do is it'll tell you all the elements. So this is all of the things, or if you need to isolate it based on HTML or CSS, let me actually go back and show you this. So if you come down here on this fully loaded time, this is telling you what the biggest contributing factors are to your page load. So image on this one, then JavaScript and fonts. Now, a lot of times JavaScript, if you have a YouTube or a Vimeo embed, you might see video and JavaScript because a lot of times it calls JavaScript to load the video. So this is going to tell you what you can look at. So then you can come over here and like, okay, image, and go to waterfall and click on images, and then we can look at the actual image. So here's the image path, and we can see how long it takes to load and in what sequence the image loads. So what you're looking for is the items that have longer load time. So if this was a slow website, you might see something out here that says like 1,000 milliseconds. Or what's really important is look for red lines. If you see one of these lined out in red text, like this right here would be red. That means your website's bottlenecking. Your server is delaying and timing out. If you have an asset like an image or a file that your website's trying to load and it doesn't exist or is taking too long, it times out, then that can bottleneck everything else on your website. You might actually have a really fast website and just have one thing that's slowing it down. Now, I said I'm going to give you 3 resources, and the third one might surprise you. This one I've been using forever. It's so archaic, it's so simple, but it's so good. You have to search Responsivator, and it's kind of like this long URL. If we delete this test URL, then you can kind of see what the full one is. So it's johnpolachek.github.io/Responsivator. Now, what's cool about this one is it doesn't give you code, it doesn't give you any technical things, it just shows you what your website looks like. And so then you can go through here and look at it on different size resolutions. And what you're looking for is things that tile or look out of place. And so what does responsive mean? Does your website respond or move based on the resolution of the device that your customers are using? So what you want to look for is make sure that the menu loads nice and mobile friendly, that everything's readable, and that you don't have tiling menus. So see how between here And here we have the actual menu, and then we have the mobile menu. You want to make sure that you have those different versions, right? And so you're looking for anything that stands out. So this is great from a visual perspective. So you can use these tools from a technical perspective and use this one for an actual user experience. There you go. 3 ways to check if your website is mobile friendly: GTmetrix.com, PageSpeed Insights, and Responsivator.